Hello everyone, it is 1:30 and right now we are going to play with Seesaw. We're going to look specifically at Seesaw Activities and think through what we can do with Seesaw and assigning Seesaw Activities. Before we jump in, I'd like to ask a quick poll. I want to ask, how confident are you that you can do Seesaw Activities, specifically Seesaw Activities? We have 15 people in here, 16 people in here. So if you're just joining, please answer the question. How confident are you can do Seesaw Activities? Almost everybody, not quite everybody. 9 of 16 have answered. Help us out. We want to be quick. Very good. 12 of 16, waiting on 4 of us. 13 of 16. Another 10 seconds. If you would, please open up that poll and answer the question. How confident are you can do Seesaw Activities? All right, I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So it looks like we're somewhere in the middle or at the bottom here. So it's saying we can do this with some help or we can do this with a lot of help. All right, so let's help. I want to help you with Seesaw Activities. So great, I'm going to share my screen and share. And I'd like to come first back to, let's see if I can find it right here. All right. So if you would please, for those of us who have just joined, I would like you to press escape on your computer and get out of this full screen share, and then you can have control of your computer again. When you do that, then you'll be able to open up a web browser and enter in tinyurl.com/ESU5Seesaw. This will take you to our Seesaw Best Practices website. So while you're getting here, I'm going to restate something I've already stated for those who were on for the beginning. So what is Seesaw? Seesaw is a wonderful tool that will allow us to do multiple things. It's a great communication tool. We can communicate with our students. If the parents are connected too, we can communicate with the parents. Remember that a parent can only see their student's stuff, anything that's assigned to their student. They don't see the entire class's stuff like our students might, depending on your settings. But Seesaw is a wonderful tool that will help us accomplish multiple things. When we think about the world that we live in right now, we're being asked to create these enrichment activities or maybe this continuous learning plan. It's important when you think about that we are including, just like you do in your classroom. We're all wonderful teachers. I am super confident that that's true, but we still need some sort of input. So what reading, maybe a video or an online teacher interaction might students access that introduces whatever it is we're talking about? After we have that input, the desire is that kids have some sort of a check for understanding. That might be a quick question that we're asking folks. It might be a multiple choice after a reading to help gauge whether or not the students read or watched the video or how well they understood those two things. Finally, we want to engage kids in some practice, and that might be not tech related. Potentially it's that paper-based practice. And finally, we want kids to create a quick product to show mastery of that new skill. So wonderful. I hope that you've all been able to find tinyurl.com/ESU5Seesaw. The next step is I would like to get you into our Seesaw classroom. And so to do that, I would like you to go to Seesaw. If you search for Seesaw, it's webseesaw.me, but if we do a quick search, Seesaw, it will take you right to Seesaw. and then in the top right, you'll click log in. And if it's automatically logging you into your classroom, I recommend opening an incognito window inside of Google Chrome. If you're not able to do this, that's okay, but it'll be fun, I promise. So if you would, so now click on log in, and that you are, so I'll do it too, Seesaw, and I'm gonna open it up, and you wanna say, I am a student. When you say I am a student, you're going to need a code. You're gonna need a code. So I'm going to share our code right now is XBIABE. I'm gonna share that in the chat. So if you'd like to play along at home, that's the code in the chat to get into our Seesaw classroom for this quick demo. All right, so let's jump right in. Here is an example Seesaw class, and I am super excited about activities. In our last session, it was more of an introduction to what can kids do with Seesaw. Now I want to share the true power, in my opinion. About a year or two ago, Seesaw came out with activities. And activities will allow you, instead of having this kind of stream on inside of your journal, you see this continuous stream of lots of things that your students have created. I can look for a specific student and by selecting them, and I can see that Allie in this class, remember this is a training class, but Allie has submitted 23 different items. And I can look at only those things that she has been tagged in. But it makes it difficult if I'm asking all 25 of my kiddos to do something inside of Seesaw and submit it. Now I've got 25 different entries. And it can be a little bit unruly to try to sort through. Seesaw Activities is a wonderful tool, a wonderful way to help you better organize that multitude of different entries around the same concept. Remember, we were just thinking about how can we do enrichment in this time of school closure. Well, maybe there's an input, maybe I record myself in Seesaw and I ask my students one question that I want them to respond to. How could I do that? Well, let's look at our Seesaw class. So I could come to activities, and now I'm going to add an activity. So watch me do it first, please. I'm in activities. I clicked on add, and now I'd assign an activity. Here is where you can see I have some activities I've already created, and that's great. One thing that's nice is that I can assign an activity to multiple classes if I wanted to assign an activity to multiple classes. And so Vicky, for you, if you're still online, it's hard to see with everybody here. I said that you can't create a video and submit it to multiple classes. And the answer is you can't do that from the stream. I can't add a video and post student work to everybody in multiple classes, but I can with activities. If I come to my activities and I create an activity, so here I go. So Vicky asked in this last round, can I share a video with multiple classes? And sure, I can. And so here is where I can add that multimedia. And I'd really recommend, instead of recording from your phone, you record it right inside of Seesaw. You can come to video. It won't let me do that right now because I'm using Zoom. It's going to tell me, nope, I'm sorry, your camera and microphone are currently being used, and therefore you can't show them how to do this. But I promise you, you'll be able to record your video, and when you're done, I'll come back. When you're done then, you could assign that activity to multiple classes at once. You can even say, I want it to go to specific students inside of specific classes. I only want it to go to specific students inside of those multiple classes. Not everybody, just one or two of them. And I think that's important for all of our special education folks joining. So to create the activity, I can add a name and then the instructions. And then, like we just talked about, I can record my voice for instructions, or maybe I want to add a video for those instructions. But another really nice thing that I like is the ability to add a template. So I'm going to upload from my computer. I could pull in a PDF, High School Tech Tools. I don't even know what that is. But let's see. So here's a nice PDF from FET, Colorado. Great. And now when I say this is the template and go, this means when students start the activity, they will get this image. So let's come back, let's think about how we might use that. So let's say we're talking about, I don't know, social studies. And we're thinking about different key, okay, no, I want a map. I want a map and I want the students to label different places. So let's think easy. I want them to label the different oceans. We got the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, right? We want them to label that. I could find an image of the world without any labels on it already, and then include that as the template for the students to then add text to the different parts of the picture. I really, really like templates. And I want to show you a couple more examples here in just a moment. I'm going to share my screen. So those of you who are in, I asked you all to get in. I'd like you to try it. I'd like you to try it. So I'm going to scroll. When you click on activities, here is a, I mean, you can pick any activity and try it. How about that? Pick the first one. You come over to add a response. So here's an example where the teacher who created this used a template. And now the students are able to write on top of the template. This is asking you to use AM and PM notation to solve the problem, and then use the number line. Okay, so the question is, how much time has passed? All right, so we got 4 hours, 4 hours. I don't know if I'm using AM and PM notation correctly, but that's okay. So then I could go, here's 3, here's my number line, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4, 5, 6, 7. And so then we went from 3 to 4, right? I could even pick a different color, and then I could say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really cute. Then if I wanted to, I could even add my voice. And this is very, very powerful, especially when we come back here and we think about those quick products. We want kids to create something that shows mastery of this new skill. Maybe we want them to create a quick answer, a quick activity inside of Seesaw. So right now we're focusing on how could we create an activity. I want to show you in just a moment, there's a whole lot of activities already out there for you. So I'm going to say I'm finished. And now there it is. Please, I don't see anybody else. Nobody else has finished an activity. If you're playing along at home, please try it out. I'll give you 1 more minute. I'd love to see at least one of you finish one of the activities inside of the activities here. Come back to the journal, give you a moment to play. While you're playing, I'll open the floor to questions. Are there questions from anybody? What are you looking to know more about? No questions.
Nick, this is Amy.
Yes.
They have the send back option. How are students, and this is bad because I've used it and I just haven't seen how it's looked on the student end as we've worked through it. Are the students notified when you send it back to them, or how does that show on their screen when you send it back to them? I don't see that as an option on this, and maybe it's just as a teacher's side.
Amy, that is a wonderful question, and I'm going to have to look it up, and I will get back to you in an email. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
I'm going to refresh my page and see if we got some more work in here. Looks like we do. We got Sarah. She went through and she did the time, responding to the hour and time. It looks like we got Cammie. She's circled the different spots. She's answered it and she's given me a number line. She even put a star on it. How cute is that? We've got some more examples over here of beautiful work inside of Seesaw Activities. So great. We've talked about how can we create. We went to activities, and now we went to add an assignment. We want to assign an activity, and it comes first to my library of activities. And we just talked about how we can create different activity types. We can title it, we can add voice instructions, which are great. We can create multimedia instructions. Please remember, we can use this too as a way to communicate that input. Let's come back here. Thinking about using Seesaw as a way to share information with kids. Maybe, for example, you want to do a quick 5-minute video on how to do counting with time. Let's delete, let's come back. Maybe, for example, you want to do a quick 5-minute overview of using AM and PM notation to solve the problem, identifying how much time has elapsed, right? You could do that with a Seesaw activity and then assign for the students you want them to do one as a response. That would be a great example of giving input and asking students then a quick check for understanding. After they've watched your input, then they could accomplish that one question, that quick process activity. Or in this example back here with our time, potentially we have multiple. There's 8 different slides to this template. Maybe that would be an example of a practice activity that kids could do. And I know that we're kind of parsing words here. It's an activity is an activity is an activity, right? But it's important to think about, how are we using it? Is it for the purpose of sharing that information, purpose for them to practice, or is it that final product? Amy's asking, can a doc cam be incorporated? And the answer is yes. When it depends on what camera you're using. When you say to allow for your camera to be used, and remember, I can't do that right now because it's on Zoom in the moment, but you should be able to select your doc cam if it's plugged into your computer. Amy, does that answer your question? Thank you, Amy. Great question, Amy. All right, but here's the fun part. Here's the fun part. We're going to come back to the class, and now I'm going back into the activities. I want to add an activity, but let's open up the floor, and I see Denise at the very top, and so I'm going to say hi, Denise. If you would unmute yourself, please. Denise is a wonderful kindergarten teacher at Tri-County Public Schools. and she is teaching something in her class with her kindergartners. Unmute for me, please, and share one thing that you might want your kindergartners to do. You're muted. I'm going to unmute you.
Am I muted now?
Yep.
Okay. I saw something with actually sight words.
Okay. So we're going to go, Denise, I can say I'm a kindergarten teacher and I want to look at sight words. I search for it and look at how many sight words there are. We have specific sight words where kids, it looks like they're having to do, what is that called? Like a Frere model of the sight word, where they're going to move the letters around and maybe then add an image and write it in their own words. But look at how many sight word activities there are on the page. Lots and lots of sight word activities. If I liked this one, I can open it up and say, I want to assign it to my class. I can say, I don't want it to go to everybody, or I can let it go to everybody. If I don't, then I deselect that and I say, I only want this to go to Allie, and now I want you to go, and there it went. If you're logged in as Allie, you now have it. I want to open the floor to some other folks. And so Denise, I'm going to mute you back, but I would love for anybody else to please step up and share. How did you get to the community library? So if you're still looking at my screen, I'd go to add an assignment activity, and then I can come to community. And that's how I got to the library. The default there is that you're in my library as the teacher, and that only shows the activities that you have created. So to get out of that and look at the full library, we'd go to the community library. That's true. You're logged in as students right now, so you're not seeing the activity library. You're logged into our class as students. But so Amy, give me one thing. Help me out, Amy. Give me one thing that your kids in, did you move to 6th grade this year? I think you did. In 6th grade, what are we doing? 4th. Gosh, Amy, I'm sorry. 4th grade. Fractions. Okay, so we're gonna multiply fractions. And you guys all muted your cameras. I see that, by the way. You didn't want to get called out like Denise did. And that's okay, but help me out. Let's have this last 7 minutes be interactive. So here's a whole lot of different activities for how we might, well, thank you, Cindy. Thank you very much. How we might do some multiplying by fractions. Lots of different ideas. Thank you, Amy. Cindy, unmute yourself, please. Share, what is one thing you might want your students to do?
Well, I wanted to know if I insert a slide that I made that has Google links on it, will those, or have links on it, will those links stay on the slide that they can access through Seesaw?
That's a great question. I'm gonna come back to my class. And so I would actually recommend, if you're trying to send a link, I can come to post to my students and then send a specific link. And so now, Cindy, a question might be, if I had a PDF on my computer that, let's see if I can find one. Coronavirus websites, I don't know if that has
Well, I made like a daily slide that has all the things they have to do for the day, and not all of them are on Seesaw. Some of them they have to go into Google Classroom. So I was just wondering if I had that daily assignment sheet up, if it would work for them to access those links on there.
Good. And so you're asking, you have the slide, it's in Google Slides, is that what I'm hearing, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay. So in that instance, I would share with the kids, I'd add an assignment, or I'm sorry, not an activity. I'm going to come back, sorry. I'm going to add a post, and I would insert a link to that Google Slides presentation. And then the students would see this inside of their Seesaw. They'd be able to open up your link. Does that answer your
And
question?
I found in the Google Library thing, I found a daily journal, and it's worked really well. A lot of my students are journaling daily what's happening or what they're doing, which kind of gives me a communication with them.
And that's a great way to do it. In that instance, then students would be able to get directly into your Google Slide or your Google Doc where you're having that journal and interact inside of the journal. If you wanted the students to submit that inside of Seesaw, you could ask them to, but it sounds like you already have access to it. So I don't know that we need to think about Seesaw in relation to the student journal.
Well, it's actually on Seesaw. They do it on Seesaw. It's a daily journal I found on Seesaw, and they open it up every day on Seesaw and journal.
I see. As it's an activity on Seesaw.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Are they able to just keep uploading to the same one, or do they submit it every day and then resubmit? How does that work?
They do it every day, but I've got a folder in there that's called journaling, so I can open up the folder if I want. But it was just something I found on the Seesaw when I did a search for daily journal. And at first I was curious if they would be able to open it every day, but they can.
And they can. That's outstanding. And then they can add slides, I bet. They add a slide and then they add their text.
Well, it opens up to like a writing paper, and it has put the day, put the date, put your entry.
I see. And so then that sounds, instead of, it is a notes page. If they can see like the paper lines, that's a notes page. So if I say,
if you just search for daily journal.
Good. Excellent.
But I thought it's a way for them to document what's happening through this. Yep, it's that one right there.
I like it. Others, please. I see Annette Barber's online from Fairbury. Others, please. Questions? Danielle, Michelle, John.
I think this is one of those things where we just have to play around with it, because until you start doing it and actually assigning work, it's hard to see how that all plays out.
Good. So look, glance at this with me for just another couple moments. I want to show you some of our settings then. So we've talked about activities for this session. Last session, we went through our journal. We talked about the inbox. And so this is a way we can send communications directly to our families or to our students, or maybe to both. We talked about skills last time around, and this might actually be something that you guys want to play with in the moment as we're thinking about school closures. Potentially, you want to add a skill for spelling, or add a skill for grammar or literacy like you see on your screen. And then you could tag the activities to specific skills as well. Last time, in our last session, we also hit on a public blog. And remember, Seesaw is password protected. You only see what belongs to you, your child as a parent. But now let's look also at our settings. So when I open this up, this is where I'd be able to get, I'd be able to add another student, or get the instructions for parents to add themselves to my student. I can here add more teachers. So if I have a co-teacher that's trying to do this with me, I could add them. Or maybe you're in that situation, you're a special education or a resource educator, and you want the classroom teacher to add you. this is how they would do that. They would come in and say manage teachers, and then they would invite you as a teacher. When I scroll back down just a little bit, I can change the color scheme if I desire. Here's an important one, and this is how are students signing in? I have you signed in with a class code, and that changes once every hour. With one-to-one devices, that means that the students are using the same device, and when they log in, it would remember it. Finally, you could have them log in using their Google Mail. And so if they're using Clever, for example, they'd be able to jump right in. But the sign-in part of this is probably a conversation to have with whomever is organizing your Seesaw at your district's level, at the district level. Here is where I can see my students and also get to add them. This was an important one. Do you want students to see each other's work? You can turn that off if you want to. You can leave that on. And another is, do you want students to be able to comment on each other's work? I can see pluses and minuses to that. When I scroll down, here's where I can invite my families again. And then I think it's a good idea that and so for example, you could post one thing, a message or an artifact to everybody. This might be a good morning message, for example, and it goes to everybody and it's in their stream. Now remember, parents can only see what's been tagged to their student, but if one artifact is tagged to multiple kids, now mom and dad are seeing the same artifact. So do you want mom and dad to be able to respond to that artifact? That's the first question. But then two, so here I can change that here. If you don't want them to be able to comment on it or like it, that's fine. But two, do you want mom and dad to be able to reply? And so to make that comment when something is submitted. So I don't know about you, but I've met a couple snarky parents, and potentially you don't want parents to be able to comment on something. So this is where you would see that. And so I'd be able to say, I want families to be able to comment, but I want to require approval before they comment. Those are the main backdoor sides to your Seesaw. Here again, you can get in to manage your folders. You can have folders, you can have skills if you desire to have skills. But that's the quick overview of Seesaw, and we are at the end of our time. So I'm going to stop.
I have a quick question on your setting.
Okay.
So as a co-teacher where I'm just coming in, putting stuff in every now and then, can I mark it to where my settings show I only need to approve stuff for my stuff instead of getting notifications for everything?
No, I'm sorry. When you're the classroom teacher and you would receive then notifications. So remember, I'm going to share my screen one more time. Inside of your settings, you can say that student work requires approval or does not. I didn't have that turned on because I didn't want to have to say, that's okay, that's okay, that's not okay.
But if I change that for mine, will that mess up the other teacher's settings?
Yes. So and it's a shared burden. So if you're asking a student in one classroom to do something, both you and the classroom teacher would be able to approve that, whatever that may be, that pending
I'll just
artifact.
leave the settings alone then, since it's not really my class.
Okay, good idea, Vicki. Other questions, please. We've got another, I mean, we're done with time, but if you have more questions, I'd love to answer them. So ladies and gentlemen, one more thing I want to share with you is a bunch of resources I'm trying to curate as our situation continues to evolve. So I'm going to share in the chat a quick spot in the chat to everyone and post. This is where I'm posting some teacher resources to help you think through. And that's where you would find some more information to help us think through what does learning look like in now, where kids are home. The key here is to once again think through, what is that input activity? What is that check for understanding? What is the practice that we're asking kids to do? What is the final product for kids? We're not talking huge products, we're thinking quick products, and especially within the context of Seesaw. Seesaw is a great tool that we can use to help accomplish all four of those big ideas. Please reach out to me. I'm going to add my email, ea5.org, nziegler@esu5.org. If you have questions, please contact me and we can set up a Zoom meeting, just one-on-one if you would like to do that. Thank you all for joining. I need to close out and get ready. We've got Google Classroom starting right at 2:30 here in a couple 20 minutes. Thank you, everybody.